Recording. Well, boys and girls, special treat for you this evening. This guy here needs no introduction, but fuck it, we'll give him one anyway. The gentleman here with me this evening is former vegan cock Womble. He's all better now, though, boys and girls. He got over it. He's the doyen of the double banger insults with cock Wombles and ass hats and whatever else it is. He's very, very welcome here as always. How are you, darling? It's Phil Escott.
Oh, I'm well, thank you, Bart. That's a tremendous intro there. Thank you.
There you go. That's my energy spent. It's all up to you now, buddy. You've got to carry the whole rest of the show, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Not really.
I'll just sit here and make some quiet sort of whistling noises and see what happens.
All right.
So, yeah, you'll have to excuse me. I've been fasting for a bit. And so, you know, if I keel over or if I suffer appalling brain fog, it's not the carnivore diet, it's the lack of meat.
Right, got it. Awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of starting again for my next round, I think, probably in the morning. So, yeah, that'll be exciting. I'm doing another, I think, 6-day program for myself, 3 wet and then 3 dry. We might even have a look at employing some of Cole Robinson's crazy sounding, what he's now calling his death diet. I mean, Jesus, Cole, call it a death diet, son.
Jeez, I haven't looked into that.
Mate, basically, it's hard dry fasting, but also dehydrate the fuck out of yourself too, please.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow. Woo. So anyway, that's what Cole's doing this week, or this month, or whatever, and people are loving it. So good. And
well, you know, I mean, somebody I know just posted on one of my threads this morning that, you know, people shouldn't fast on a carnivore diet and that sort of thing. Well, you know, the people Cole's dealing with have got, you know, they're seriously obese, they've got serious issues, and you know, okay, if there's some risks, and I don't really see them. If you don't know what you're doing and the electrolyte thing, and, you know, going 2 weeks on dry fasting or whatever, you're going to have some problems. But I think the benefits far outweigh the risks, and I know that if I really need a step up, you know, because people say I've cured this psoriatic arthritis. Well, yes, you know, it was in like 30 to 40 joints and I couldn't move, but I still have a sticky knee. It's damage more than anything, but I know that you know, it's not like raging inflammation or anything, but it's damage. And I'm thinking, you know, I really want to exercise and it's getting in my way, you know, it's a bit creaky, it doesn't have full motion. And I think, okay, well, you employ these things judiciously, you know, and you listen to your body. And if you've got something like that to blow up, yeah, you know, you got all the autophagy and apoptosis going on. Why not? Let's get those cells sorted, see if you can get some regeneration before you let some surgeon loose with a knife, you know. I think it's a lot safer than a general anaesthetic and a load of slicing around. So, yeah, of course I'm going to use it. But would I recommend it for your average diabetic, you know? And no, just cut the carbs, see what happens. You know, it's crazy, isn't it? Horses for courses.
Yeah, that's the one. Anyway, the good news is we kind of had an overriding idea. Well, it was actually Phil's idea, so thanks to Phil for it. That what we kind of do is have a kind of hopefully fairly relaxed, hopefully reasonably adult conversation with all of you boys and girls of all ages, above 18, that is, of course, because otherwise what are you doing watching this? The topic is Greta, but we are not, let's be very, very clear before we even get going on it, we are not here to do a Greta bashing session remotely. The whole Greta Thunberg, or Biddy, I think it is, Thunberg. Pim told me how to say it earlier.
I don't know. I don't know.
Thunberg.
Let's call her Greta, eh?
Yeah, Greta's great. So we'll just call her Greta. If she won't want to say Greta, leave a space, and then I'll just patch in the audio later Pim saying Thunberg perfectly, and that'll be great. No, we won't really do that. That'd be silly. Anyway, yeah, it's Greta and the phenomenon of Greta and where Greta's got to, and you know, what we make of all of that media craziness and the media circus and all of the propagandization and stuff that's going on, and kind of see where it goes. I kind of gave Phil a list of questions later that we may or get to or not get to, and other than that, it's just a matter of seeing where we go. I mean, I'm coming from the point of view of a supposedly dispassionate academic. who doesn't have a family to consider in that respect. Phil is on his second family now. Phil?
Yeah,
His
I've got
kids?
three kids, just one coming up to 30, and one of 4 and one of 11.
Geez, that's some fucking good planning there, Phil, son.
I
That's
know.
awesome. Woo. Okay. Anyway, so Phil talks from that point of view as well. He has experience in that area. He knows what that's about, and yeah. So let's kind of get into that just a little bit. I'm going to splice in at the beginning of this video, just so you know, Phil. I'm going to splice in a video of someone has done a mix-up of Greta's speech at the UN recently, and they've altered her voice, and they're making it sound like she's doing death metal, and they've put death metal music on it. It's just absolutely priceless. So even if that costs me the copyright strike on my version of the video, I'll take it, because it's just so good. So I'm going to, just so you know, that's going on the start of my video.
Oh, cool. Well, I have no idea how to edit stuff. So if anybody's watching this on my channel, nip over to Bart's and check that out.
Yeah. So that'll be good. And any of you that are not subscribed to both Phil's channel and mine, what the hell's going on? Get it sorted, please. For goodness sake, we're all here to support each other, and we're all here to steal each other's ideas and give each other no credit for it whatsoever. Isn't that right? By the way,
absolutely, Phil, the court case is still going through about Cockwomble, mate. I mean, I can't believe you stole that off me.
I know. Yeah.
I was honoured.
Ass hat and cock lunch and whatever else it was, all good stuff. And by the way, I've seen your video that you linked to me this afternoon on YouTube there of your son yelling out the window at Tim Sheaf. Is that the one you're going to send in for Father of the Year, Phil, or?
Oh, that was terrible, isn't it? I mean, it was. The thing is, I told his teacher about that the other day. For anybody who doesn't know, I've got a video on my channel. Tim Sheaf I got to know from the time when he was struggling with his diet, and he got in touch with me, and what a lovely guy. I got to know him about a year before he came out with it all, and we had some wonderful conversations. So then I got to know him really well, and one day he popped over recently, at the end of the summer, and Jeremy Ayres was here, and Graham Norbury, and my son from Thailand, an older one, and the whole family and everything. We were having a barbecue and everything. And he started running around on top of the fence and on top of the garage and whatever, and doing his crazy stuff.
This is Tim, not your son.
No, this is Tim, yeah. And then suddenly, as I was filming, heard this little voice out the window, "Tim Sheaf." And Tim goes, "Hello." And Peter goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I thought, no, but I thought, yeah, what the hell? They pick up these things. The thing is, these kids, if they've got any sense about them and they haven't been brought up on quinoa, they kind of pick these things up but know when to use them appropriately. I told his teacher about it the other day, and she was just in fits. She thought it was hilarious. And I said, "He doesn't do anything like this in class, does he?" And she goes, "Oh, no, he's absolutely lovely."
Oh, I love it.
Oh, well.
Class. Anyway, that's well worth a look. If you haven't seen that, go across and have a look. But yeah, let's crack on with it. We can get started a bit. Kind of my starter for 10, I thought I would go with. Obviously, there's been a big build up to it. She's been really, Greta has been really, really well managed. She's been well minded. She's well scripted and choreographed most of the time. She presents the performance that she's been asked to, I think, pretty well in my sort of dispassionate assessment of it. All the build up and all the attention that she's got has led to the point where suddenly this is a 16-year-old schoolgirl being invited to address the United Nations. Would you walk me through that one, Phil, in your mind, if you can? Would you let a 16-year-old, talk to the UN about anything?
I don't know. With me, I'm really not political. Even if I do catch anything on the TV, I don't really understand it. But to me, it's just this. It ties in with the whole big picture of ancestry. Our sort of whole ancestral heritage. Most of what she's saying is nonsense. Now, the whole climate change thing, I I'm often called a climate change denier just because I don't believe the party line. But I don't believe the party line in the same way as I don't believe the party line with diet. When you've seen the herd running in the wrong direction that many times, you just don't know. And I can't, every time I think, yeah, all right. I have a friend of mine who I've had this huge conversation with over the past week. I won't disclose who he is, but he's a very influential guy in the spiritual world. And I love him. He does some amazing work, actually. But there's this climate change thing that he's absolutely focused on. This is great. Greta's great, And there's nothing I can seem to do to chip away at that. Everything else, he'll accept. Wow, yeah, he's not a carnivore or anything, but he'll send me people who he thinks I could help. These sort of spiritual people who've been sucked down this vegetarian pathway, and he's very open-minded, fantastic guy. And I keep saying to him, you might be right. You absolutely might be right. Presuming everybody's absolutely right about climate change, but you get all these major climate change scientists, writing now to the UN, was it? There was 500 of them or something, writing and saying, listen, there's something a bit wrong here, and there isn't the panic. Now, okay, maybe the others are right. Maybe they're not. In the diet world, how many people are shouting about carnivore? Not many, but you look at what you and I see about the healing of it. It cures everything it's said to cause. And so, obviously what everybody's saying is bullshit in the diet world. So this seems to happen in all areas of life. Now, if you can see that, then it's difficult to swallow the climate thing. But the thing is, if you do so, presuming the climate thing for a moment is absolutely as they say it is, yeah, all of these greenhouse gases, blah, 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 all the ways that they're saying to reverse it, apart from maybe cutting down on diesel emissions, but that's not going to happen. You can shout about that, but everybody wants their cars too much. And, until there's an alternative, no one's going to be interested in that. But what about this business of stop eating beef because that's going to save the world? If you look into it for 10 minutes, it's clearly bullshit. So, what it's all tied in with, it's so inextricably tied in. It's this tumor with many metastases, And so to me, it's far more of an issue. All the people who are on Greta's side and saying we've got to wake up to climate change are saying, oh, veganism's a side issue. To me, it's a central issue, because you and I know, and a vegan will never know, and a person who eats a regular diet just sees, oh, somebody eats vegan, somebody eats carnivore, or whatever they eat. It doesn't matter. What's the fuss about? But you and I see people, and we've both been attacked by people who are so incredibly dogmatic and blinkered. And this is what it causes, even in the early stages. Once you get into the stages of Asperger's and autism, where there's a very much of a sort of rail type consciousness where you're stuck on these rails, then of course she's not going to see anything and outside of her own viewpoint. So she's absolutely on this wavelength. And to me, when I see vegans who come off it to keto or whatever, however they heal their veganism, there is no other word for the disease. However they heal it, they seem to become far more open-minded, far more reasonable. You can tell them stuff about the planet. You can send a vegan multiple pictures of deer caught up in combine harvesters, because they're never going to care about snakes and lizards and stuff that are poisoned, and mice, they don't matter. But when their favourite Disney characters have their arses ripped out by combine harvesters and have a most horrendous death, far worse than a bolt gun or anything, but then they just go, why would you send me these pictures? Oh, you must have faked them. The things that they say. When I was vegan, if I'd have been sent a picture like that, I'd have gone, bloody hell, I'd never thought about that. I know what you mean. I never even considered it, So I don't understand that. So she's not going to see anything like that. The brain is definitely compromised. Why? That's not an insult. It's sympathy. It happens to every vegan. You and I have had enough dealings with them to know that anything you say to them, they don't change. They won't look. You link them to the finest scientist talking about the finest science in a 10-minute video, and they'll say, I'm not watching that. It's a YouTube video. It's not a paper. I go, no, this is the dude that wrote the fucking paper. This is the kind and they won't listen to it because it's a video, because it's not, on Dr. Gregor's site or whatever. So to me, it's all caught up in this issue. Would I let a 16-year-old talk to the UN? Well, I wouldn't let a vegan talk to the UN, right. Of any age. Okay. Right. So, when there might well be some real prodigy 16-year-olds, but I don't see Greta as a prodigy 16-year-old. I see her as somebody who has been picked up by the masses, by the controlling people, she's not done that on her own. It's okay. People say she persuaded her, her parents into veganism at 8, but quite often we do get influenced by our kids. But I mean, if my kid said at 8, I'm going vegan, I'd just say that's absolutely ridiculous and just tell him why not. But as you can see in another video that I linked to Bart, I've got a video, my carnivore kids dying of malnutrition or whatever. But, you can see that they've got their own choice. I'm not militant. I'm not anything. But when you get a kid militant and then their parents think if they don't have any education, then they're going to go along with it. Somebody's going to pick up on it. It's the old Simon Cowell thing, isn't it? Picked up on a pop star and then manipulate them into stardom. Oh, look what they've done. No, it's the person behind them. It always is at that age, unless they're in their bedroom and they create an app and they're a billionaire by 20. Fantastic. Well done. There's some brilliant minds that are young, but not in this case. She's missing everything. And do you know the thing that really gets me is she's calling about not eating meat and stuff. I mean, that picture you sent me this morning of her meal on the train or whatever, it's just absurd. There's compost and packaging and stuff coming through from other countries, But the sad thing about Greta, I'm sure you've seen yourself, is what is the highest success rate in Asperger's and autism? Healing the gut. GAPS diets, bone broth, high fatty meat diets, PKD diets. This is reversing autism and Asperger's. So the very thing that she's railing against is the very thing that could make her wake up. But who wants her to do that, eh?
Yeah. So let me see if I can just grab that picture up. I might be able to get it to come up like so. Can you see that now?
I can see that. Yep, I can.
There we go. Okay, so that's the picture we're talking about. I was going to ask Phil to sort of, comment on. When I sent him in the message earlier, I said, the food on the table, and he quite rightly corrected me and said, I don't see any food there. I only see compost. So, you're quite right, Phil. But that aside, I was kind of thinking, obviously, in the question I would have thought about some of the things like some of the air miles and some of the packaging materials and things like that, not to have a dig at Greta, but to say, look, here is a stage managed production of, she's going around the world on a yacht that has zero emissions, never mind the emissions in building the yacht and that kind of thing. She's backed by millionaires. It's all, her personal worth is now reported to be $46 million. And then we see a photo like this, and we go, hang on. Well, what was your take on that?
Well, I just see a kid eating stuff that's completely inappropriate human diet. We've got the vegan salad there in some plastic. We've got what I presume is bread called limpan, which, even the limp bit in it just predicts what it's going to do to your sexual performance, doesn't it? And,
yeah, it does.
And then there's bananas. They didn't grow in Sweden, did they? And then what is that stuff she's scooping out? Probably hummus or something?
Probably hummus, yeah.
Yeah, probably incredibly inflammatory stuff. And there's a packet of God knows what. They're not pork scratchings, that's for sure, spilling out on the table. I don't know. And then she's holding this stuff, which is probably the limpan stuff. And it's not even got any butter on it. I don't know, man. I mean, there's nothing there that I'd feed my kids. God.
Right. Agreed, if I had some. Yeah, absolutely. And then, I was kind of thinking about things like, well, here we have bananas from Ecuador.
Yeah.
This photo was taken in Denmark, apparently, on a train, which I'm not sure whether that's electric or diesel, by the way. We've got dried fruit from the tropics there by the looks of it, I think. You've got your fruit there. You've got your, sorry, not your fruit. You've got your limpan, your bread, plastic container there with the, good for the environment stuff. Yeah. So that was kind of my take. Over and above the the food quality or lack of food quality. Also, here's someone that's passionately belting out one message and then showing, oh, is there much thought going in here? I thought, and that, as I say, is not a dig at Greta personally. It's there's nothing atypical about that meal for a vegan on a train in Denmark, I imagine, or anywhere else in the world.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. It's pretty standard stuff, isn't it? But I mean, it makes my joints hurt just looking at it. I remember eating that kind of stuff, and well, I was fat, I was farty, and I could hardly walk. So
exactly. And then also I know it's n=1. I know genetics come into play. I know there's all sorts of things that could be going on that we know nothing about. But also the question has to be asked in terms of nutrition. This is a child who went vegan at the age of 8 years of age. This is now in terms of the legal definition, this is a sexually mature female now by the age of 16. She is of the age of consent. Now, if you look at this girl, are you seeing a sexually mature 16-year-old?
Well,
what are you seeing?
Yeah, well, when I was chatting to my friend, as I mentioned, I mean, I only really looked into the Greta thing like last week, and I was chatting to him, and halfway through, even I had to send him an email going, God, she's 16? Are you joking? I thought she was about 12. And yeah, that again is please, it's no insult, because there are some kids who look younger, there's some kids who look older, there's all of these things, but I would say that whatever her genetics, that will have compounded that. You do find kids who are very underdeveloped on veganism, and I think whatever's happening in the body is also happening in the brain. And I feel for her like I feel for any other vegan kid. I don't actually understand where the 46 millions come from. How has she actually earned this? I thought she was just going around being a spokesperson. Why would she earn 46 million?
Exactly. I don't understand either exactly what the provenance of this payment to her is, but I guess it's that some of the big name organisations that want someone that has big name draw to shill for their cause, that they are asked to contribute. And
well, I wish the vegans would notice this when they accuse us of being shills for the meat industry. I mean, I've certainly not got 46 million.
No, and I mean, one of the questions I've got on my list for you here, Phil, is how much of that 46 million that's going to Greta's, I presume, estate, is earmarked to do some work on environmental causes, do you think?
Well, I have no idea about that, but one thing I would be sure of is it'll go to the wrong ones. It's not going to go to the Savoury Institute, is it?
No, I wouldn't have thought so. No. So yeah, I mean that's kind of one of the things that we're looking at dealing with here all the time is the sheer propagandation of what we're seeing here in the media. And one of my other questions was, what do you make of this, what I'm going to call a tactic? And the tactic being, we want to push a certain barrow, we want to fly a certain flag, we want people to feel a certain way. We need a spokesperson who will engender that. So let's put up a cute little girl so that no one can take shots. And if they do, they are a fucking Nazi.
Yeah.
How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? She said. How dare you? So you can't, we can't take a swipe at this girl, can we? She's almost above reproach just because she's a schoolgirl.
Yeah, it's a dangerous one, isn't it? But I think, the Nazi thing, well, look at the other side of it, where people are posting all these memes of, Nazi girls with pigtails being used in propaganda. I don't know, I'm not a rabid conspiracy theorist because I'm too chilled to really worry about it. Things are what they are. But I listen with great fascination to Tristan. About all the history of it. I mean, I wish I could remember it all, but, the whole Lord Birkenhead thing and how far it's gone back and how all these kind of plans and creating fears and then giving false solutions And then, it's happened again and again and again. There's been all these ridiculous fears, when they give these sort of Asian flu warnings, and then it just never materializes. And then they're doing it to sell great stockpiles of Tamiflu that's going out of date and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much deception in all of these things. You can't just go, oh, this is fine. This is just a wonderful young girl who's taken it on herself to save the world. There's something else going on there, because if everybody looks at it just from the climate change angle, it's like I never understood diet. In 30 years of studying it, I never understood it until I looked at anthropology. And then you listen to the people like you, Paul Saladino, whatever, Ivor Cummins, people who are pulling the science apart, and it blows me away. I mean, I listen to your stuff and I go, fuck me, that's why it worked. I just found it out through anthropology and through N=1 experiments and working with people. But when you explain it, it's like, Jesus, he's dug out the proper science there from the bullshit. So the same thing must be going on everywhere. Everything repeats all over human performance, doesn't it? So there's all the bullshit in there. But I don't know. I don't know about all the how it's come about. But Tristan's stuff, it fascinates me, because, I mean, he was like studied history, didn't he? And he's got all of that stuff. And so he loves looking into it. And when you can see the similarities in the past and how these sort of elite ruling classes have written papers and written books and written to each other about controlling the plebs through diet, and they're eating meat and they're doing everything right, and yet, let's get them all on a grain diet because it makes them easily malleable and obedient, and then aggressive when they need to be on a certain subject. It's the old thing, this ridiculous Game Changers film where they've gone on about the gladiator diet. It's a fucking... They were slaves. It was another...
Less meat equals less heat. Less meat, less heat.
Oh, God. What's the matter with him? It's so bizarre. And you go down the comments underneath the things on YouTube about Game Change, see these people going, oh, what a fantastic film. My God, I've watched What the Health and everything, and I've got... Tim's been in What the Health. And now he's turning down going into Game Changers and stuff, because he's saying, sorry, guys, it was bullshit. And so all these people are dropping out. Are the makers of these films not looking at the other side? It must be some agenda. You see, if I was going to make a film, like we were thinking of making a documentary, probably will at some point, with Jeremy Ayres and me and a couple of others. And, you'll definitely be on that one. But, I mean,
cool.
What... If I had some slight perspective to look on YouTube, look at what's going on, the incredible success of carnivore and keto diets and whatever, how could you'd start to doubt. You'd go, whoa, I don't want to look like a dick. So I think these people are either just unbelievably stupid, or they have this massive agenda, because they've got to see there's all these failing YouTube vegans. There's all the vegan doctors are now falling apart and going insane. They're running out of people to interview, fuck's sake, aren't they?
Well, yeah.
So I mean, I would, and then you see all the comments underneath, oh, this has changed my life, and there's something very bizarre going on. And what Tristan's saying, I don't have any proof of it, because it's all in the past. And, well, it's not all in the past, but the history of it he's going through, I can't go and see it with my own eyes. All I can do is say, that rings true, that my intuition says, that really rings true. And so I've become a bit of a conspiracy theorist, but I don't see it as theories anymore. They've already had the theories. There's people putting it forward, and it's just conspiracies now. Whether I've identified exactly the right ones, I don't know. Because, this is why when people say, you're a climate denier. No, I'm not. I just have reasonable doubts. And I can't prove it. I can't walk out there, go to the ice caps and see them melting. Well, actually, I hear conflicting reports that some of them are getting bigger. And then I see stuff about if they melt, it doesn't really matter because they're already in the water, and you hear all this stuff. So you go backwards and forwards, confusing like it is looking, somebody coming to diet and looking between Sean Baker and Dr. Greger. What are they going to believe? Nothing until unless they just look at the two of them. But what are they going to believe unless they experience it themselves? I've gone through decades of diet experiment, working with people with diets. Things haven't worked. Now I do this carnivore thing, tell people how to do it and to heal. And you're going, hang on, I can tell that from my own experience, but I can't tell about climate change. So anyone who's absolutely sure, they're not, as you've said yourself, it's not the scientific process, is it? Science is never settled. or it's not science.
Quite, yeah. No. I mean, science actually has been hitherto unable to confirm experimentally the existence of you or Eiffel. Actually, there is no external reference to which we can apply this standard and thereby establish without any means of refutation that we are actually here at all. And indeed, the quantum physics mathematical descriptions of phenomena not only kind of suggest that they demand that we actually do not exist in the way that we think we do. So I think people definitely overthink the level at which science can address questions that we have out there in the real world, where there are thousands and thousands of degrees of freedom, things that can affect the end result that come into play. And I mean, it's just purely by the way, I was looking at some information as part of my research into my ongoing series of videos I'm making about the whole anthropogenic global warming theory. And I came across Lord Monckton, because you're going to when you're looking into this stuff. Christopher Monckton, for those that want to look him up. He's a hereditary non-peer, actually, because he never did have a seat in the chamber, because that was abolished before his father died, and so he never got that, but he still claims the title of Lord, and he's probably hereditarily entitled to it, whatever. Anyway, Christopher Monckton. Good. He's also a UK Exit Party member of some description. I think that's Nigel's party, isn't it, Phil, for those that are into...
Do you know what? I just don't take any notice of these people.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, politics. God, who wants to talk about politics in the UK right now? You guys are fucked. That's another story, though. I've been watching down here and kind of going, whoo, really? Jesus. Okay, then.
Well, I turn it on. Small children bickering in a sandpit. And I turn it off again. It's just bollocks.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
But the video I was looking at today with Monckton was one where he was talking about some work that's been done by an Irish research team, a father and son team, as it turns out, who are both clearly touched by the brush, and that's no derogatory statement. I too have an autism spectrum presentation, for those that don't know that. But these two are like, woo, they're up there. And they showed the research they've been doing, and basically they've looked at the data from more than 50 million weather balloons that have gone up in the last 100 years, whatever. And they've found a relationship which basically they are claiming shows absolutely that the behavior of the atmosphere adheres to the gas laws. It is an ideal gas. It is at thermodynamic equilibrium, meaning it cannot store energy. Meaning, while greenhouse gases can be still labelled thus and called greenhouse gases, if you like, there is no actual greenhouse effect per se. What they've found is that the temperature of the gas in the atmosphere is directly proportional to the R-squared value of 0.9997. Okay? Directly proportional to the gas pressure, according to the input of solar radiation at that time. Because the rate of heat leaving the system is the same as the rate entering the system, there is no thermal disequilibrium in the altitudes once you correct for the pressure. 0.9997. There you go. What forces our temperature? The sun. End of the matter. Good.
Well, when I've looked into it, and I don't understand the science and stuff, but it just makes a lot of sense to me, and I've heard that the same thing is happening on other planets in the solar system. And I don't suppose there's many SUVs.
Exact same relationship.
Yeah, there's not many SUVs on Mars, are there? So I don't know. I don't know. Yep. But what I do know is that the people who have the answers to correcting the environment are usually the people who don't believe in the global warming thing. You know, these people who know how to rewild the land. They know how to use the land properly. They know that ruminants are incredibly important for keeping grasslands going. They know that the whole sort of carbon sequestration process relies upon animals moving from one place to another, not growing a load of soy to destroy vegans. So whichever way we believe, I think we just need to focus on the environment and the land. But you see, that's taking away... They're very clever. To me, let's go for the conspiracy theory side now. Presuming all the conspiracy theories are right, it's very clever to me how they're taking away the public's perception of the real issue. If the public understood what their real diet was, that would probably fix them quicker than anything else, they would see through this immediately, because the carnivores are all crying out because we're going to have our food taken away if this crap happens, and they believe that beef's causing it. So it's pushing everybody towards this plant-based diet. You know?
Come and fucking get it.
Yeah. But they know, and I've seen that the soil is so depleted that in most of the areas where we grow this crap, we've only got about 50 crops left or something before it's just dust. So what are they doing? How on earth do they think they're going to reverse this? And unless they start looking, if I was in charge of that and I had a good heart, I'd look round to see how people are restoring the soil. And it's perfectly obvious that you've got to return it to nature, at least in cycles. And so you've got to have herds of ruminant animals on. You've got to do that. That's how it worked. They moved from one area to another. You keep them in one area, they mess that area up, you know. You let them roam around, and they do their thing. So how can it be down to burping and farting cows? How can it be down to eating soy? It just doesn't make any sense. People say, oh, veganism's a side issue. If you look into all of that, then all the holes appear in the rest of it. And I don't understand why they don't look at the people who are into restoring the environment. So I think the people who are going to save us from global warming, because I don't actually think, honestly, 75% to 90%, I don't think we need saving from it. The evidence is too strong for me the other way. But I'm never 100%, you know, we're human beings, we can never know, always have doubts. But I believe that even if it, you know, what's going to save us from it is going to be the people who regenerate the land. You know, if we can understand that and bring all of these areas back to sustainable farming, sustainable crops, if we've got to do them, rotating it, having these great places where you can grow all the fruit and keep the trees happy, you know, instead of these fake foods and fake crops that we never ate all the way through our ancestry when we were healthy, and now we think that's what keeps us healthy. So it's all the brainwashing on that level. You can see how it goes into the other level. You know, you can see how then people can easily, good boy,
go on, son,
can easily see that that the rest of it falls into place, and we've all got to listen to Greta. It's you can never see it. Einstein said, didn't he? You can never tackle a problem on the level of the problem itself.
No, exactly.
You've got to go beyond it. You've got to see the other stuff, and nobody's going to see it unless nobody's going to get any doubts at all, because it's the doomsday thing. The end of the world is nigh. The guy on the corner with a sandwich board. Then it never happens, and then there's another guy with a sandwich board. The end of the world is nigh, you know? Religion, politics, government, they always bring some great big fear. And, I mean, you look in history, it's a hoax. You look at the list of the times when the planet was supposed to die because of climate change, and here we are. I mean, how many times can they cry wolf? But people don't remember that. They don't go, oh, we've got 11 years left. 11 years exactly, and then we're all going to boil to death and drown. Well, you know, maybe. But we're not going to cure it by eating fucking Beyond Burgers, are we?
No. I don't know if it's a thing or not, but I saw there are KFC shops that are doing their red livery green, and they are Beyond KFC outlets now, apparently, in some places where you can go and have that fucking shit dressed up to look like actual KFC. Fuck me. What the fuck is going on, Phil?
That's hilarious. That's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it?
I don't know if it's actual or someone's taking the piss, but
you see, what people are missing is they're going, "Oh, we're all going to die."
Cheers, by the way.
Cheers, mate. We're all going to die, but they don't realise we're already dying. I mean, look at everybody. Look at the state of everybody. You just walk around town. I mean, I walked into school this morning, just before I talked to you, and I heard about 5 different conversations, either about kids, oh, he's off school, he's got another infection, oh, he's on antibiotics again, oh, he's got this, he's got that. And then, oh, yeah, my father, the cardio team, has said that he can now. And then you hear these little things as fading in and out as these groups of mums are talking. And it's amazing. I've said this on other calls, I think. I was called in, we were invited in for school dinners. Let's go and see the school dinners. That the kids, oh, aren't we great? We're following the food pyramid and all that. So I thought, all right, I'll go in. Ooh. And I sat there next to my daughter, and there's these other people sitting around the table, these other parents. And it was a skinless chicken breast, just dry. It's just these things are inedible. And this broccoli that, like it said, looked like it had been in a dishwasher or something for a while. It was just horrendous. And then this bread roll, wholemeal, and some low fat yogurt. And so I was sitting there thinking, well, I'm not going to eat that. I had a couple of bites of the chicken to be polite. And then Amelia, my daughter, she said, can I eat the bread? And I said, well, it's up to you. You do it if you like. You know what it does. She's on the toilet the next day or whatever. It's up to you if you want to eat that crap. And then the other mums are staring at me, really staring. And I thought, hang on a minute. They've just listened to that conversation. I thought, what the hell is he saying? That bread roll's healthy. They were 20, sometimes 30 years young. They were 20, 30 years younger than me. These mums sitting around, and I was the only one round the table who could fit my arse on a kid's school chair. They were all spilling right over the side, and their kids are... You say, this is the thing. I mean, I know we all like to big up our kids, but this is something that I've been observing recently. My kids, right, when we brought my 30-year-old son up vegetarian, he was always very bright, but he had some emotional things going on, and he had digestive problems going on, and he ended up with an aneurysmal bone cyst in his neck and had to have a whole vertebra removed at like 11, 12 years old. And he'd been getting pretty fat up till then. His mum, we'd split up by then, me and his mum, and she was feeding him, she thought she was doing the best. She was feeding him rice and dal and all that Indian crap. Because it's sort of spiritual meditating type movement up here. And to her credit, she thought she was doing right. I was doing exactly as much harm feeding him pizza, pasta and Indian takeaways and Haribo, and I was fat, he was fat, but he ended up with this horrific thing, and he had to have these operations 2 weeks, sort of a week apart, to go in through the front, pull the front of the vertebra off, replace it with plates, rods at the back. And it's one of these things that the doctors can't explain it. So obviously it was diet. Obviously it's other influences too. But of course it was the crap that we brought him up on. And he's still struggling with issues to this day. He's an incredibly bright dude. He understands all the Jack Kruse stuff, He's amazing. He's a proper biohacker. And he's running this sort of cancer centre in Thailand pretty much. And he's very, very cool. Very cool. I love him. But I'm guilty because I know that we made a load of mistakes. Now, we were young, we were late 20s when we had Tom. I'm 57 now. I had a kid in 2008. That was Amelia. I had another one 2015. That was Peter. Now, these kids amaze me. I mean, they really do. I mean, we were old parents. Okay, my missus is 10 years younger than me, but she's still kind of old to have kids in the normal standard of things.
Hey, you lad. Go on. Sorry, son, go on.
I know, it's lucky she's black, or people would think I was her granddad, But she was veggie through the first pregnancy, and we kind of got away with that. But Amelia is pretty healthy. There's little things I see in her that perhaps could have been better if Detta had been carnivore during that time, or had some better nutrition. In the second pregnancy, she said, right, enough of that. And she started eating tons of meat, and now she's carnivore. And Peter, amazing. I think they were both cesarean. Peter has a little bit of eczema issues, unless we keep him fully carnivore and get him in the sun, and then it just disappears. But apart from that, unbelievable. And Amelia had some eczema issues that have completely cleared up. Probably just clears up around 4 or whatever. Anyway, I think that's to do with properly people scaring you into having a cesarean and not getting the correct seeding of the gut bacteria, you know, and not knowing to swab and put it round the kid's mouth. If we'd have known back then, these things you live and learn. But apart from that, these kids, you know, I mean, I remember Amelia's first sports day that I went to at her school, and she's not even that competitive. She's very cool and very chilled. And she started running, and I thought, I wonder how she's going to do. And she was just chilling, you know, and then suddenly I could see her looking behind, like it was almost, where are these other kids? It was incredible, you know, because genetics, obviously, but, you know, we're old parents. We should be having kids with Down syndrome and all sorts of problems and whatever. But these kids never get sick. They haven't been vaccinated. So, you know, and we feed them meat. So of course, they should be taken away, as the vegans say. But, you know, check that video out of them talking. It's on my channel with carnivore kids dying of malnutrition. But Peter, he's astonishing. I mean, his level of you know, the teachers walk up to me and say, wow, you know, he's done this, he's done that. Amelia, amazing, both of them. And recently, Amelia had her 11th birthday at Ninja Warriors.
Nice. And
it was like you know, this place where you get all these obstacle courses and crazy things that you got to swing from one to the other. It was the thing, you know, the sort of small version of what Tim won 2 years in a row in the States. And it was annoying. If it had been the next Sunday, he could have turned up. He was coming up to the Lake District near us. Right. And for Amelia to have had Tim Sheaf at her party, crazying around on this stuff would have been amazing. But anyway, you know, Peter was there, and I thought, he's way too young for this stuff. And he was going nuts on it. There was one particular thing where there's like a beam, and it's round, you know, it's tubular thing, padded, and it can spin. So it's almost impossible to run across. And kids were getting 1 or 2 steps. And I've videoed it, and it's his first go he fell off, his second go he got all the way across, and then 2 out of 3 times he was just running across like nothing. And there was some of the 11-year-old kids couldn't do it. And I was going, that's really quite unbelievable. I'd never seen him matched up against other kids. And they're pretty chumpy, some of them, and they're you know, you can see what they've been eating, and you can see, and the level of performance of the kids is always directly related to exactly how the parents look and obviously what their diet is. And I sent this video to Tim, you know, and I said, well, check this out. And he goes, that's ridiculous speed and coordination. He's 4 years old. Wow. You know, and it's Tim Sheaf saying it. And so I'm thinking, is this crazy? Is this, you know, really something? Is he just a normal kid among some kids who are just absolutely useless? But no, there was no kids in there doing it. It's blowing my own kid's trumpet. But the point is, his development is just astonishing on meat and fruit. He eats a bit of fruit if he wants. He has a bit of honey if he wants. He has the occasional bit of chocolate. You know, we're not militant. If we go out, he'll have some chips, you know, have some fries in the restaurant. But mostly he eats meat. Some days he eats nothing but meat. But, you know, 2 days out of 3, he'll eat nothing but meat. And he have a bit of apple in his lunchbox or whatever, and some berries, and particularly in the autumn now when they're in season. And no bother. But the incredible mental development on it, which takes me back to the Greta thing. You know, what's going on there? Though she went vegan at 8, obviously her parents had no idea about diet, right? If they really knew about diet, they'd know that veganism was shite. So whatever she ate before wasn't much better than veganism. I'll bet on that. She was probably eating a standard diet and, you know, misidentified the meat as the problem, as everybody does. So that's not going to help with any of the issues that she had anyway. And then she goes vegan, so she takes the few nutrients that were even in the diet out. Yeah. And you see, you know, I see the kids. I see kids. You know, there's one kid at Peter's school. She has breasts, and she's in his class now. He's 4. Right, he's 4. There's some serious hormonal disruption going on there, and not the only one. You know, there's a lot of the kids as they get to 8, 9, 10 with they got gynecomastia, and obviously, you know, and they can hardly run in these races, let alone try and beat somebody. Right. It's absolutely shocking. So I see this going on a standard diet. Then you switch somebody to a vegan diet. Well, that's not going to help, is it? So, you know, I can't say that the problem started at 8. people can say, oh, she chose it. Great. But there was some shit going on up till then, wasn't it? And now it's compounded, and the parents are obviously have no idea about diet, so they can't see the whole picture. So one thing leads to another. It's a knock-on effect. What the hell? That is not a good person to speak in front of the UN. Because, I mean, even the ones on the UN who don't have an agenda, they're just going to be impressionable, aren't they? They've grown up with 5 a day is great. So obviously more is better. Yeah. So this girl, she's a prodigy. She must be telling the truth. So it's a fantastic way to manipulate people. I feel really sorry for her, because one day she might twig this. Maybe she's incredibly bright. Maybe one day she'll twig it. You see, the thing is, I've been talking to this friend of mine that I was saying, and he said, well, I think the world's going to need a big wake-up call, even to move into this new age of spiritual enlightenment and whatever. I say, yeah, but I think you and I are thinking that the slap's going to probably come from a different direction. And you see all the vegans falling down. I wonder what's going to happen to Greta. Now, I really hope that her future is not getting really sick. I really hope her future is not getting... I mean, I even had a wacky thought of them engineering her death, a la Princess Diana or whatever. I mean, so we could martyr the girl and make her a saint. Is that what you're saying? Exactly. I mean, I'm not predicting that. I just had a sudden thought about, if I was a real evil Bond genius up the top of all this, that's probably what I'd do before she got sick, because I'd know she's going to get sick. And if she started to show signs of getting a little bit spaced out and sick, like that vid that you sent me about her not having a script when she was talking to the UN, she's obviously a little bit spaced out there. So I don't know. I mean, who knows? That's a horrible thought. I'd never wish it on her. I really hope that never happens. And I hope that the slap comes from her waking up and going, do you know what? Even if climate change is a thing, this is the way to reverse it. Imagine if she said that. Imagine if she said, I've discovered the Savoury Institute. The whole beef thing was bullshit. Now let's all eat beef and let's still save the planet. I don't care. The ways that we're supposed to save the planet and get rid of the greenhouse gases are exactly the ways that we're going to feed the planet beautifully and restore all the environment. So I'm all for it. She can go for all that stuff. But imagine if she turned round there. That would be amazing. That's what we need, is somebody to get to her, an ex-vegan of her age, to say, I've woken up to this. Look at this alternative thing. You really want to save the planet? Look at this. And if she's not too far on the spectrum, maybe she can bend out, and have this great big wide view. You are a perfect example of that. If you've got this thing that you're somewhere on the spectrum, what the fuck? You look at you. You've broken out of it. You can do exactly what you want. You can see this big picture better than most people on the planet. So I know it's possible for her. It's just it's rare when you're left alone to your own device. You go, oh, well, it's just something that happens to them. And, we've got to give them this med and that med and all that bullshit and keep feeding them vegan stuff and KFC burgers. And oh, fuck. So
Beyond KFC.
Beyond KFC. So, I really think that the slap will come from another direction at some point. I mean, the slapping's already there. It's just that people are too damn stupid and they got motorbike helmets on, so they're not feeling the slaps.
Okay. So, would you say, on balance, that Greta is being exploited, and that the form of exploitation, aka putting a clearly distraught, clearly emotionally upset young woman, well, she's a girl, we've all seen the picture, young girl, without the life experience, without any scientific training at all, under a spotlight like speaking to the world leaders at the United Nations, how can that not be some sort of abuse of what is legally and clearly a child?
Totally agree. I mean, why are the vegans not saying she's not educated, she's a quack? And yet, with me, So they can't accuse you of it. I mean, they try to anyway, don't they?
They
do anyway,
yeah.
Because your qualifications are obviously shite. But I mean, mine,
Yep.
I've studied it. 12 hours a day. I've looked into this stuff for decades. And
There you go. He reads all the papers, boys and girls, Phil, so you don't have to. Go on.
I listen to the people who can actually interpret the papers, because I'm too daft for that. But I've experimented with it. I've just been into it more than any dietitian or nutritionist has, and I've gone into it. And still, vegans go, "Oh well, you're a quack. You don't understand about it because you haven't done this particular course." But with Greta standing up there and saying it, and she's 16 and she really hasn't studied it that much. She can't have done. So how can they possibly not see the irony in that? I don't know.
Yeah, it just astounds me, because the fact that basically she's in one of two modes. She's emoting and crying and saying, "Feel sorry for me. I live my life in fear. I'm anxious beyond all recognition. I feel like the sky's falling in Chicken Little, and how dare you, last generation, you've fucked my chance of having any kind of life, because you've now led me to believe and indoctrinated me to believe that the sky is really falling." And that's her one mode. And her other mode is, well, I better get some things out from my script around, here are the facts they wanted me to say today. And every single one of the facts she comes out with is demonstrably, verifiably incorrect. Again, not a shot at her. She's following a script. But who's writing these fucking scripts, Phil?
Oh, fuck knows. I don't know. I mean, but it's typical veganism, isn't it? You just get over emotional about everything. You see, everything. I posted something on my carnivore group a little while ago. My full caps lock freak out of the day, because I did send a few pictures of deer mashed up in combine harvesters, and this vegan went nuts. I mean, really nuts. Full caps lock, screaming, and it was just such a good one that I had to screenshot it and post it, because this is their reaction. They will get over emotional, and your average person who eats a standard diet is not quite that emotional. There's something about the vegan thing that gets them completely incensed. So when somebody sees somebody that incensed, who eats a standard diet even, they're going to say, hang on a minute, this must be something really important, and she must have really discovered something I haven't discovered. So she's fooling all the other people, because people go, well, what does it matter? Vegans are vegans. No. They're influencing everybody, because people who actually eat a standard diet, are they guilty about eating salads? Never. They're guilty about eating their meat. And then you see the extraordinary stuff. I mean, I was in fits yesterday. I was listening to Tristan's little half-hour podcast on Dr. Clapper. Right?
Okay.
Oh, my God. It's so funny. I mean, he says this business of, the unbelievable bullshit that people come out with. He's saying this stuff. He's being interviewed by this young vegan guy who Tristan says is, a future ex-vegan YouTuber. But they're talking about farting all the time. Why are we always farting? And Clapper's going, it's totally normal. So this is what happens. And it's not to do with fermentation in the gut. It's to do with swallowing air when you eat, And Tristan's going... So he's saying, well, you eat some lettuce and there's obviously air in between. And the young guy's going, yeah, and agreeing. And sort of, and then Tristan goes, well, remember, boys and girls, deflate your lettuce before you eat it. It's fucking hilarious, because the bullshit they get away with. But your average person is gonna believe that. They're gonna go, oh yeah, well, I fart because of that. But no, okay, I eat meat, but I fart. When I ate vegan, seriously. Well, vegetarian even, eating all those Linda McCartney burgers, and how well did they work out for her,
Okay.
So I had an insight the other day from somebody who knew her. Said she was horrific and used to force all the road crew and everybody in the band to eat vegetarian and eat her products. Insane. Yeah. I mean, this is processed food by anybody's standards. I used to eat it because I missed the meat, obviously, and there was a methane level in my house. You had to crawl around so as not to breathe in farts. It was just constant gas leak. I always remember one particular day when I was just lying in front of the TV, and there was this little TV back in those days, must have been like early 90s probably, And I was lying there like this, you know, with this little TV in front of me, watching some crap, and I lying on the carpet, and I was just farting constantly. I'd had Hawaiian Crunch for breakfast. I'd had some sauce mix or some Linda McCartney shite for lunch, and I'd had some rice and dal. I mean, that's tempestuous storm in the guts. That wasn't the air I was swallowing. If I'd have swallowed that much air, you know, my stomach would have blown up initially.
Right. And if you had swallowed it smelling like that, it'd have killed you.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was just, I mean, it was just a ghastly, constant ghastly. It wasn't like I'm farting. It was like, oh, I stopped for a minute, you know? And I remember we had a lodger, and he came in, he opened the door, and he just went, what the fuck, like that.
I don't want to work here anymore, Mr. Faulty.
I could survive it because I was lying down and it was sort of settling upwards a bit. But, you know, this was kind of a regular day back then. And this dude says it's normal. It's unbelievable. Yeah. So this is what people are believing, because it's very difficult to tell that guy's an absolute fucking lunatic. When you're some guy on a standard diet who farts now and again, he goes, oh, well, that's all right then. They don't realise it's the meat. They're going, oh, the meat's probably putrefying in my guts. Because this is the thing. What we need is some kind of, you know, it's like somebody also said on one of my groups the other day. They said, priests hate it when there's a saint in town. It's the worst thing. So what you've got to do is to find somebody to counteract Greta. You've got to find some, you know, 16-year-old ripped guy who's going to capture the public's attention, and he's going to be totally chilled, and he's going to say, look, there's a whole load of crap in this, and here's how to restore the land, and here's how to, you know, you got to maybe do it on their level. The trouble is, I don't know of any carnivore billionaires who are going to back that.
No. But I can tell you right now, his name almost has to be Hansel, doesn't it?
Yes.
Hansel versus Greta.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Oh mate, so you know, it's that sort of level of bullshit. I can't say how important it is to people listening to this to look outside the speciality you're trying to understand, because you can't see your way out of the forest unless you climb to the top of a tree and just look for the other stuff that's going on. This is what we're trying to do. I've done this thing. I end up as a bit of a plug, but I think it's kind of important because it keeps us in order as well. I've teamed up recently with Dr. Jeremy Ayres and Graham Norbury, who you must get on for a chat. He's just fantastic. I mean,
hook it up, Uncle Phil.
Yeah, the science. I mean, he's beautiful. You'll have a great conversation. I mean, you have to talk right down at my level, but you'll be able to actually talk at your level with Graham. He understands this shit, you know.
All right, cool.
But and there's Jeremy Ayres, there's Graham Norbury, there's me, there's Ben Hunt, who is great. He's do you remember James Hunt, the racing driver?
Yeah.
He's actually his cousin. I only found that out recently, but yeah, he's cool, Ben. He's great. He's great at marketing and stuff, and so he tells us exactly how to put stuff together and all the web stuff, you know. And so we've got this membership site where we can talk about stuff. We've called it The Human Unleashed. And we got together and we just get on so well. It's one of those amazing meetings of the spirits. Now, none of us are perfect, obviously, but what we're doing and comments we're getting is, oh, you know, Jack Cruz is all about the light, or this person's all about that, or just, but I've never seen it all together under one roof, because Jeremy's been working as, you know, he's been trained in naturopathy, functional medicine, osteopathy, all this kind of thing, and helped people for many years with incredible testimonials and results. And what a lovely guy, hilarious dude too. Graham Norbury, background in banking and stuff, but he's got this amazing researching mind, and he understands everything about sort of everything down to a cellular level, and light and deuterium, and you know, he doesn't take stuff back to an ancestral level. He takes it back to when we were single-celled organisms and explains it from there. And it's like, whoa! Now I see how this has happened. You know, and then there's and then there's me, who's worked with people, but also seen it all and come from the whole spiritual side as well, and seen all the bullshit and the diamonds in that, and it's difficult to sort out too. And I've also healed healed many different issues. And so I have it from the N=1. So between us, we're just going from one subject to another, everything from light, diet, emotion, stuff like that. We definitely got to get you on as well on the THU stuff, because it's kind of behind a paywall, so you can kind of say stuff that you can't say in public, you know. But the importance is, I think, of looking at the big picture and not having an ego. You know, the four of
Oh,
us.
I'm fucked. I'm out. Fuck it.
No, you are not fucked at all, mate, because you have seen so many times you've been wrong. This is why I absolutely love your channel. And every time there's anything scientific to explain, I'm going, go to Bart's this video, go to Bart's that. The amount of times I've linked to people to your video and to your channel in general, because it absolutely explains why all of this stuff is bullshit. And you do it in a hilarious way. Some other people do it brilliantly as well, but it can get a bit boring. But you're always very amusing about it, very irreverent, and I love that, you know. And so are we, all of us in this THU stuff. But I think the important thing as well for us to group together in this is to watch each other's bullshit. You know, we learn off each other just as much as other people learn off us. But if someone's getting a bit out of hand or a bit egotistical, which hasn't happened yet, but it might well happen down the line. And I respect these guys so much. If they say you're talking a bit of shite here, I'm absolutely going to do it. Actually, they do with my attitude to money, because I'm so useless about it, and they really take the piss out of me about that. And we take the piss out of each other about a lot of things. But there's huge respect there, and that's what's so beautiful about it, because you can't just have one person being brainwashed and controlled. You've got to have a group of like-minded people who genuinely want to do the best for humanity and don't give a shit what the truth is. You know? Or rather, don't give a shit unless it's the truth. They're just looking for the truth. Yeah, that's all
they want a solution. They want to be angry.
Yeah. These people just want to be. But we want to. I don't care if it's carnivory. The only reason I've settled on carnivory is I've tried everything else. Right. So now I'm into other things. You know, this, that, light, deuterium, emotional balancing, blah 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 blah. You know, and you look at all that stuff and start studying that stuff, and then it becomes fascinating, and then you can see how it all ties into the rest of it. But Billy Connolly says, doesn't he, never trust anyone who only has one book when he's talking about religions. Yeah. And if you've only got one viewpoint, you're fucked. And this is what's so great about working with these guys. It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done, because we have different viewpoints on the same things, but we agree, but we've come at it from different areas of personal experience, healing other people, and science. You know, and it's lovely to see how when we chat, we do these sort of videos with all four of us. We just pick a subject and go. And sometimes Graham will go on about something and go, what the fuck? You know, I'd never thought of it that way. But I think because you've got the whole ancestral perspective, you can get things. It's a very good template to weed out the bullshit. And the vegans and the climate people don't seem to be doing that. They don't seem to be looking at the ancestral perspective. As far as I can see, the climate change deniers among the scientists in the climate change world, the climate scientists who are smelling a rat, they're saying, look at the ancestor, look what happened in this age, look what happened in that age. This has happened before. This is a cycle. This is happening. You know, and they may be wrong. I'm not saying that I can't prove it, because I can't have personal experience of it. But it casts doubts. It casts huge doubts to me. I think, to double right back to your question, you know, I think that who should be up in front of the UN is people who have all views of this. You know, you want to discuss climate change, well, get the people who've really studied everything associated with it, including diet, all their lives, and put them up there. Put a vegan up next to a carnivore. Put Alan Savory up there. You know, about how to restore the land, and put a climate scientist up there who is a standard one, and put a climate scientist up there who is now writing to the UN and saying it was bullshit. Put them all up there and see who's going to convince the UN then. Give it a really balanced view. You've got one screaming 16-year-old. Come on.
Yeah. And you've got the head, the guy that actually originally formed Greenpeace. You've got him publicly saying anthropogenic global warming is fucking nonsense.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It's on my Facebook page. For those of you who are Facebook friends, cheers. Go and have a look at it there.
Yeah, I'll go check it out. I will.
Those of you who are not Facebook friends of mine, why not?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because the people who shout about climate change deniers and accuse me of this and that, and they say, well, you obviously haven't looked into it. And I say, well, okay, send me stuff that I haven't seen. And so they send me stuff, and it's stuff I've already seen. But I've looked at the other side as well. So it's not like I'm not looking into that climate science stuff. I haven't just gone, oh, great, another conspiracy, I can be a rebel. I mean, I love being a rebel, but not just for the sake of it. So I've looked into it, and it's just not adding up. Sorry, guys, there's too much There's too many very intelligent people speaking out about it, and more as time goes on, and they don't seem like lunatics to me. You know, it's the same in the
sorry,
diet world.
I didn't understand. You have high-level studies, right? I've not seen your high-level studies because I don't have the secret handshake access to your high-level fucking palace to read your high-level studies.
I know.
Oh, really? I've never seen that fucking study before.
It's funny, isn't it?
Exactly
It's like when a vegan sends you something. I was talking to one the other day, and he just, it was unbelievable. He was just going, oh, well, you're just this, you're just that, you're a shill, you're just, oh, I see you've linked to one of your videos, and another load of ramble. He'd said the old shit about the Inuits. Oh, they all die of everything. They all had heart disease, and they've all got no bone density, and they all died at 50. You know this one, and you go, oh, fuck, not again. And you go, all right, look, how long did polar explorers last in the Arctic on their crappy rice and beans diet? About 3 months before they got scurvy. It's pretty good lasting to 50 in there, and it's, the bone density, maybe it's probably more to do with vitamin D exposure. The Maasai, they don't have this problem, and they're 7 foot tall and they bring lions down. I said to him, look, Gregor, right? You put him up in front of a lion. You see what he does on his diet. I said, the only way Gregor is going to kill a lion is to fart him to death, And I'm just playing with him. I'm having some fun. But he gets really aggressive. They always get aggressive within the first two things. Like, this is absolute bullshit. That's absolute nonsense. And then they say, and it said, it's just complete dribbled. He said, it's just, what did he say? Dribble or whatever. And I said, well, it only seems like that, to you, in the same way that that Shakespeare would seem like that to a chimp. And he goes, you're comparing yourself to Shakespeare. And I said, well, in this instance, yes. I'm not an arrogant, egotistical person, but in the face of your diet, of your dietary knowledge, yes, you are a chimp. Are you chimp level 1? And when you are chimp level 1, you have no idea you're chimp level 1. I mean, when I was chimp level 10, I probably had no idea I was even in the chimp levels, And now, the more I learn, the more I realise I haven't even scratched the surface. And I'm beyond chimp level now, at least. And, and of course he's going nuts and whatever. It's amazing. So you see that, and you see it with the climate people as well. And they'll send you studies, and he sent me or was that another one? I don't know, a link to a fucking McDougall thing. I mean, come on, McDougall, and oh yes, it was him, because he's going on about the bone density of the Inuit, and then there's McDougall falling over in the shower and shattering his pelvis, and now he's completely insane and senile. Is this somebody you can really, how can anybody link to him anymore? They've probably just read the old books, and they haven't studied since the 70s. And so they haven't actually seen that interview with Matey, with the other vegan doctor, who used to be quite a hero of mine, actually, but now his eyes are sinking in and everything. John Douillard. I kind of based my first book on his stuff. Fortunately, it wasn't so much on the diet stuff, it's on the Ayurvedic side and the and his 3-phase workout thing. And he was quite a clever dude, but he's still sort of stuck in the veganism, kind of. But, oh, no, now you can introduce a little bit of chicken, and now actually fats are okay. At least he's coming across. But you can even see him wincing in that interview when McDougall lets rip with full Alzheimer's. Yeah. You're like, what the fuck is that? You can say, I don't know why he released the thing. But, so people are still doing that. And this is the same thing with the climate thing. That I just think they're not looking outside it. They're not looking at regenerative agriculture. They're not looking at what's actually happening in the Amazon. So burning the Amazon down to make way for beef. Oh, come on, man. Like a Carnival did a great video on that. The rainforest soaking wet. It's not burning, right? What's happening is that the governments are completely raping all the land for resources, for the trees, for the minerals, for the gold, silver, whatever. And then when it's all fucked, they sell it off cheap to the poor old farmers who try and grow a bit of soy and try and graze some cattle there. And then they take the blame. It's if Greta just knew that one fact, if she just, maybe that would turn around. She'd go, hang on a minute, it's not for the beef. They move in and do what they can with it, with the shitty land, and graze some beef. But, it's not to do with that. It's to do with the governments trying to get the money. They're always shifting the blame. And the blame is always being shifted onto meat. And that's the weird thing to me. That's the making Satan made up, just completely made up. So then that's getting everybody onto plant-based diet. Then that gets them completely malleable. Then you get the Gretas coming up. And Wow. You know, I mean, it's people have a go at people vegan bashing on my carnivore group, but we're not vegan bashing. Most of us are ex-vegans. We're veganism bashing, you know, and you can't say that enough. And we're not Greta bashing. We're Gretaism bashing.
Exactly. It's the ideology that's offensive. The girl herself is doing what she is being asked to do, and she's doing it really well. I mean, what we've got, I mean, even when you think about it, like 10, 15 years ago, the so-called deniers like myself, and Phil knows as well as most people that I'm completely with him. I'm an absolute anthropogenic global warming theory denier. I don't deny climate change. Climate change is real. It happens all the time. It actually happens fairly well instantaneously, as it turns out, according to solar input. Good, as I was describing earlier. R squared equals 0.9997. So that's pretty close to 1. Causal. Good. So that was that one, pretty much. And you know, even at that time, 10, 15 years ago, they were saying, we deniers, oh, look, the warnings are just going to have to get more and more and more shrill from the scientists. And it's got to the point where every single one of these doomsday catastrophic, the world is going to end type predictions made by the IPCC over the years, not one of them has panned out. Not one of them has come true. And they have got more and more and more shrill. And I just got to the point where I thought, well, they said this is going to continue to ramp it up. And where do you go from there? You know, I didn't even consider, well, let's get a hysterical 16-year-old girl on. Really? It's got to the point where you've so run out of actual arguments from science, actual science, experimental, empirical science that works and is observable, that you have to get a hysterical 16-year-old girl to front your cause. And let's make no mistake, Greta is backed by some very elite left-wing interests, including Bill Gates, for one. That's just one of, you know, do a Google for yourselves, boys and girls. Speaking of that, I'm very glad you mentioned that Tristan said boys and girls. I'll have to send him around a note from my lawyer because he didn't credit me for saying boys and girls.
Oh, look, and also, he might not have done. I might be.
Well, I'll tell you who did. Not long ago, I've actually unsubscribed to Frankie, to be honest with you. I don't watch this shit anymore.
Oh dear.
But I did see this one video. There was one day I thought, oh, well, what's Frankie up to? I'll click in and have a look. And he opened his video with "Hello, boys and girls." I thought, you little cunt. Fuck. Yeah. Wow, really? Good one, Frank.
Well, you know, I just don't see why he went to war with Sean, you know. And I mean, I have to say that I totally agreed with Sean's rebuttal of him. Why would you want to fight within the same thing? You know, we kind of saying the same thing.
Did you fucking argue with Sean Baker?
No, no, not really, no. But I don't really feel the need to. I'll have to see. I've got to spend a week with him next May, so let's see what happens.
All right, sure.
Well, we got this retreat going on, you know, in Spain. Right. I got to plug that because you got to come. Right. People come along to that.
Yeah, as I've said to you before, Phil, you get Brexit done over there, and it's on. The situation is, for those that don't know, I can't enter the United Kingdom, or indeed that means if I enter an EU country, they'll pick me up on my passport as well, probably. So we need to get exit done. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Well, that's good, because then maybe that'll be sorted by next year, because we've got you earmarked for 2021. You've got to come along to that as one of the speakers. But seriously, we had such an amazing time in April, and I just, if anybody's listening to this and wants to come along, just again go to the humanunleashed.com website and check it out, because we've got Sean Baker along. That'll be such fun. You know, he's such a hilarious dude. I'm really looking forward to hanging out with him. Beautiful kind of converted monastery place, swimming pools, palm trees. I mean, it's the most beautiful place to hang out, and we had such fun last time. And the whole sort of spirit of the thing, where everybody was looking at this from a different angle, because I don't like these sort of carnivore conferences so much where it's just carnivore. You know, we've got some woo-woo going on too. We've got Beyond. We've got, you know, Jeremy has all the other sides of healing together. We got Graham talking again. on all his melanopsin and light and deuterium and stuff like that. I don't know what he'll pick this year. And we've got Eva LaRoche on all the raw thing. You know, she's amazing. Got so much knowledge of that. And we've got.
You didn't get that flat Earth guy to talk about that?
Who?
You didn't get that flat Earth guy to come and talk about that then?
Oh, what you mean? You mean Gattis? Sverige. Yeah. Well, he was going to come along last year, but I don't know what happened. But I think it might have been. You know, he likes to be his own guy, and he likes to be kind of the centre of attention. He wasn't going to be a speaker, so we just invited him along, and he didn't come along. So I don't know, who knows? But not as a speaker. No, we got Eva on that. We got Lisa Bailey, who is great. She's got her Carnivore Cast, or was it HBO interview? You know, and all the stuff she reversed on. You know, and then she's talking about women's sort of keto and issues like that and exercise. And then we got Holly Reeves. If anybody's not heard of Holly Reeves, go to my Carnivore and Beyond podcast and check out the interview with her. She's such a character, but she's a real modern day shaman and sort of raw vegan to raw carnivore to heal, and incredible story. The stuff that she sees, you know, she's a proper like tribal shaman kind of. I mean, I can't tell you how much I admire Holly. There's a lot of charlatans in that area, and Holly's not one of them. So yeah, we got all that sort of Beyond stuff. So check it out and come along and come and stay. And we're going to get Bart along as well when he gets his passport sorted out or whatever.
No, I better explain myself, because I try to drop myself in it a bit there. People will be, the vegans will be all over that one. Yeah, he's a criminal.
Yeah, he's a criminal too.
Look, the situation is, I left the UK in 2016, or late 16, early 17. I can't remember exactly. Doesn't matter. In there, I left the UK without paying a court imposed fine for a non-criminal issue, purely on the basis that it went through a court case and all else, and it was just a fix-up, and I just thought, fuck it, it's, you know, a few £100, and I'm not going to play. So I'm leaving the country. So up you, the UK. You know, I'm not hurting anybody in a big deal. I'm just not paying a court fine for a couple of £100.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. Well, it was lucky they didn't find the remains under the patio as well, wasn't it? Because
exactly.
You know, all we carnivores are cannibals. The vegans tell me that.
That's it. Yeah. So as I say, if I fly into the UK or the EU, it'll be on my passport. This guy owes us some squids and they'll want it. So it's actually no big deal. I could really just show up if I had, the extra on hand, plus penalties for not paying and shit, of course. So they'll want both my arms and one testicle, I'd imagine, by the time I get there. Anyway, whatever. I'm not some kind of dodgy criminal. I just didn't pay a fine. All right, good. I'm glad we clarified that.
Well, don't worry, mate. I've got a big council tax bill stacked up here anyway. They keep shouting at me, so I'm in the same position. I just haven't skipped the country yet. But, if I was to leave the country tomorrow, I would not pay it. Because this is a council that didn't listen to anything's put up a 4G mast behind my house with objections of all the neighbours. And since then, we've had more difficulty staying well than we did before. Is it my imagination? Is it not? No, because I'm not really a panicker. I don't really care about it. I could just go, oh, well. But, and then they try and charge me for this when, I'm really down on my luck. And they're going pretty nuts about it. And sod it. It's a made-up tax. Let's not get into that whole thing. But, most of this whole taxation thing is absolute nonsense. And credit card debts and, Jesus, mortgages that are illegal and... Oh, that's a big rabbit hole I'm going down at the moment, but that's not a subject for this chat. But
fair enough. Yeah.
So fuck them. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So that's what I thought. I didn't enjoy the UK particularly. I don't like the way people are treated in the UK as not more than number. Really.
Yeah.
I really battle, and as I say, it's part of my autism spectrum presentation. But I really, really battle with not receiving customer service, not being treated like someone who matters when I'm giving people my hard-earned money for services and whatever else. And that includes government departments, because you're paying taxation, of course. And so therefore you can expect to be treated with respect as a customer there, you would have thought. But the officiousness and callousness of the UK is what did me in there, really. So that was just my final up you. I was going to, that was my protest vote. Fuck it, you're not getting your couple of $100.
Yeah, well, why not, mate? It's all made up money anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And you know what they did me for? sitting in my parked vehicle with the engine turned off over the limit for alcohol. That's what it was. Apparently, I didn't even know it in the UK. Apparently, you can't do that. You're not allowed to drive drunk. I understood that, of course, and I wasn't going to. I was sat in a parked vehicle with the engine turned off. Keys weren't even in the fucking ignition. Hello, son. You're fucking Nick. They said. Nick for fucking what? For being drunk. I didn't know I wasn't allowed to be. Well, you're not. Okay. £200. Fuck you. Bye. Plane. See ya. Yeah. It's no more complex than that. There you go.
They've probably forgotten about it. Anyway, if you have any trouble, we'll just bung them that to get you there. So don't worry about it. We'll put that on. We'll put that on your expenses.
Yeah, it'll have gone up, of course, for penalties for having not paid it.
Well.
Don't you worry, it'll have gone up. So start a fund me now to get me to the UK to have a one-on-one fist fight with Paul, the hench herbivore.
Oh. God, yeah, he had a go at me on Facebook a little while ago. It was funny. Yeah, really weird. And
come on, dum-dum, don't you know plants are good for you, dum-dum?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think he'll be on that forever, will he? He's done pretty well so far, but...
Well, I mean, it's now absolutely beyond question. He's absolutely admitted it. He's on the juice. Oh, fuck me, really? Shock.
Well,
I couldn't believe it when he admitted to it. I thought, no, really, he's got all that stuff from being a good, good vegan and fucking no, it's juice. You can tell from the guy now.
Well, it's funny when vegans cite him as well as vegans brought him up as a bodybuilder, you know. And I mean, come on, guys. I mean, I've run a gym probably back in late 90s, early 2000s. I was that big. I got that big on a sort of predominantly veggie diet with a bit of fish and a bit of chicken and eggs. Yeah. And I did it on really abbreviated training, really heavy, really abbreviated training. And I was in my 30s. I was already quite old. And I lost all that muscle since on veganism. That's why I'm skinny now, but with being really fat in between. But, he's not a bodybuilder. He's got a pretty good physique. Well done to him. But if he's got to take the juice to get that big, I've seen many people get that big without the juice, even on a standard diet. So, that tells me that veganism's crap in itself if he's on the juice and he's only that big. I mean, if you actually see a real bodybuilder up close, the women are the size that you think the men are from seeing them in pictures. They're fucking immense. Yeah. And that guy would be laughed off the stage anywhere. So that's not he's got a better physique than I have at the moment. There is no denying that. But
let's compare to fucking mugs, shall we?
Yeah. So I don't train. The vegan who brought it up saying this guy looks better than you. It's kind of irrelevant, really. You've got to look at somebody's starting point. But he's not a bodybuilder. He's not. I don't know, this whole vegan illusion of bodybuilders and athletes. Djokovic, whose girlfriend persuaded him to go vegan for a bit, and his performance totally declined, and then he got off that, and his performance came back again, and now the vegans say, look at Djokovic. They pick on all the wrong things. It's not happening out there, vegans. There aren't any athletes and bodybuilders and strength champions. It's just not happening. It's an illusion.
No, I mean, the track and field lass that was interviewed on that Game Changers video, when you look at her recent performances, actually, not only has she dropped out of the top echelon, she's actually now no longer competitive in that field. She's not. Is this the one? Actually,
yeah, I heard a podcast about this, and was it something about there was a ninth year girl or ninth grade or something who ran faster than her. I can't remember the number of the grade or whatever, but something terrible's happened to this performance. Yeah.
So this is an athlete who supposedly is at the top of her game in her early 20s, being beaten by a school kid.
Yeah.
Because her results, her performance has drifted off the competitive mark so far that she's now not making the cut. She's not making the meet at all. Literally. She's not getting the meat at all.
Yeah. And is it this guy Babusian or something, isn't it? Patrick?
Yep. Yeah, the strong man.
Yeah, and they're going, he's got world records. And then when you actually look into it, there's stuff that he did on his own, calling the Guinness Book of Records out. He's never been in a World's Strongest Man. He's never... I don't know, it's just, again, it's just not adding up. And you've got to look at the whole perspective.
You look at that bloke and you'd say, can I please have an N15 test today? Submit some of your blood. Let's look at the N15 to N14 ratio, and then we'll know what you've been eating. And I'll tell you what, mate. If you look at that guy, it's not a vegan diet. I can fucking promise you. There's no way.
There's a lot of cheating. It's that funny thing that's been going around. You know, you get a vegan drunk, and what's the first thing that happens? A kebab. Because that's what they want. That's what they're suppressing. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing's an illusion. So I think that's what we've established. You just got to look at the really big picture, haven't you? And so this is what I love about your stuff. You know, you don't just swallow studies. You actually look at them and relate them to ancestry, and then actually look at what's bullshit and what isn't. In fact, you've turned me further against the standard theory of climate change by talking about the stuff that you've looked at the real science, because I've seen you picking out stuff that I know works in the real world from the real studies, and picking up the diamonds from the dog shit. And so now, you know, if you're seeing the same thing in the climate world, well, I'm suspecting it and I'm feeling it by intuition, because I don't have a scientific mind. I'm just you know, I'd have more of a sort of artistic mind with that. But you seem to have both. So well done, and carry on. And if you think of anything else on that climate change front, just bung it over to me, because I have a lot of people battering me about that now.
Yeah, I'll flick you over that stuff about thermodynamic equilibrium, which shows that the atmosphere of the Earth will not store energy, meaning that the anthropogenic global warming via the greenhouse effect is null and void. There is no greenhouse effect, apparently. There is only gases that you can describe as greenhouse according to their quantum behavior. As it turns out, it seems that the models require, indeed, because of the way they're worked out, that various different sections of the altitude need to be thermodynamically isolated from each other in order to achieve the calculations, which is a fundamental breach of obvious physics, because it's a continuous column of gas, obviously. And so, as I said, just to repeat it, basically what these two Irish researchers have apparently been able to show is that with an R-squared or predictive value, 1 being a perfect prediction and 0 being no prediction at all, it turns out that they've got 0.9997 on the incoming solar radiation at the time being the determinant of the temperature of the atmosphere, if you correct it for the gas pressure. So as you go up through the altitude, the gas pressure drops, therefore the temperature drops, etc., etc., etc. And it's this relationship that shows that it is a thermodynamic equilibrium between, as it turns out, 3 layers of atmosphere that behave slightly differently. And it's the top layer that allows the release of energy and the intake of energy, thus meaning that there is no storage of energy. So if you can't store energy, you can't have a greenhouse effect. There you go. And then they've taken the same relationship and said, let's take the gas pressures of various different bodies in the solar system and compare that to the temperature prediction as it should be according to our 0.9997. And guess what? They're within 1 degree C for every single body they've looked at anywhere in the solar system. Bugger. It's not CO2, boys and girls.
Well, it's like turning round a cross-channel ferry or something, isn't it? It's a big ship. It just it takes a long time, and it's the same as happening in the diet world. Just when you think,
maybe that's why they have screaming 16-year-olds on the front of ships. Sorry,
maybe. I mean, that's why it happens in the diet world, doesn't it? It takes so long to turn it round. 1 voice, and then they get squashed. 2 voices, they get squashed. 3 voices, 2 of them get squashed. And it happens like this, and it's coming out slowly, and they finally admit things. They finally say that eggs don't kill you, and just these little admissions, these little half-truths that are almost more dangerous than lies.
Yeah.
And it's happening again. I just see the same pattern happening again with the climate change thing. So great. Yeah. We need to we need to get Greta to realize just one thing can often unlock it, can't it? You know, one revelation can often unlock it. And maybe the easiest thing is to just say, well, how about the Brazilians thing? You know, how about the rainforest being burned down for cattle? It's not
I'm
happening.
glad you clarified that. Yep, good.
Not happening.
Yep.
Maybe that's the key. I don't know.
Yeah.
I expect you'll probably get shot if you try and get near her with any kind of information like that.
Yeah, no, she's absolutely, you know, well schooled, except when she doesn't have a script. Again, look, boys and girls, if you haven't seen it, there's another video. I'll try and link it underneath, at least on my copy on my channel of this video, where Greta is called out on the hop in an interview situation, and somehow she hasn't got the material hasn't been provided to her. Obviously, she doesn't have the script, and she's asked a series of questions, and it's just incredible. You've seen it, haven't you, Phil?
I have, and they were pretty simple questions. I mean, I watched it and I almost linked it to my friend who I keep mentioning, and then I thought, well, he's just going to say, oh, well, you know, they picked her at a bad time, and maybe she was just being generous and wanting the other people to have a word, you know. So there is always that side of it that the vegans are going to say, oh, well, it was just her being nice and generous and letting other people speak.
Yeah, she saw about others.
It didn't seem like it to me. It seemed like she was a bit lost. They seemed like pretty simple questions to me, but I don't know. Yeah. And she's looking at a minor and she's saying, why don't you ask her this? And, you know, why does nobody but me get the questions here? Well, Greta, that's because you're the one that's got the media attention, and clearly, you know, you're trying to desperately, you know, help me. You have not given me the right answers to say. Yeah, exactly. It's whoever's in the media eye. You know, they just want the most views.
Sorry about my Swedish accent, by the way. It's shocking.
They just want the most views. It's like when you're in a band, the singer's always the one that gets interviewed. You know, if you get some paper coming along to talk to you or something, some journalist, always the singer that gets interviewed. Yeah.
I also used to get all the groupies too, Phil. Yeah. So
you must have had a really, really ugly drummer then. You know, because drummers. That's no slight on you because you're a good-looking dude, but the drummers are usually the ones who are out the back in the van with three of them.
Right. Oh dear.
It's just the singers and guitarists always get the publicity for fiddling, you see. Then nobody notices what the drummers do. They just notice drummers when they drive pink Rolls Royces into swimming pools and choke on their own vomit.
Yeah. Just for anyone that has absolutely no idea, you know, who either one of Phil or I is, this is maybe the first time you've seen both of us or either of us. We both have a history as musos, doing, you know, working in bands and playing music and you know, doing that kind of thing. So yeah, that's that one. Good.
Cool.
So have we covered it off? Have we put the world to rights for a Friday morning your time, a Friday evening mine? It's just heading for 10 evening Friday. So yeah,
about 11 o'clock here. I think that's cool. That feels like a good place to wrap up, and I think
all right.
That was great. That was fun, man. We went some places I didn't think we were going to.
Well, you know, there you go.
Thanks for inviting me back on.
Not at all, mate. Absolutely a pleasure as always, Phil. You're a gentleman and a scholar in your own way, and that's great. I celebrate what you do. I support entirely what you're trying to achieve. I'm so pleased you found your way back to, you know, the true path in terms of nutrition and health and stuff. As I say, you know, anytime you want to doubt it, just take a look at a picture of Phil at his age, and put that right beside a picture of Stench Herbie Royd at his age. You know, and if that's, you know, I know that's N equals 2, but if that's not enough for you, you know, just keep doing your research, basically. Demand answers from these people flashing papers in front of you for 3 seconds telling you that's proof of something. Science doesn't prove shit, boys and girls. Science makes inferences, and it's your responsibility to check every inference that's put in front of you.
Yes.
For the skills you need for the skills you need to read those papers and assess those inferences, you need to be a subscriber of my channel, because I am currently in a fit of putting up videos all about how to read the research, how to read the stats. And we like to play a game over there I call Where's Waldo, or Where's Wally for those who are not American. Same thing, it's the guy with the stripy shirt and you have to find him in the picture. There's Waldo. And we play that game with what's wrong with this study? What rules have been broken of the scientific discipline here? What compromises have been made in this study? How can we discredit that one? It's a great game, boys and girls. Hours of fun and game for boys and girls of all ages, over 18, of course, because I do say short words. So, yeah, please do jump across. If you're not subbed, get that done. And if you're already a sub of mine, get across to Phil's channel if you're not already. And if you're not, you had also better pay extra because he's the godfather.
Yeah, isn't that funny? One guy thought about it, put up the Godfather of the carnivore diet, and I thought, oh, fuck's sake.
Fuck you.
I mean, and then somebody else did it, and I thought, oh, he must have copied from the first dude, and two guys interviewed me. And it wasn't. They both thought about it independently, and I thought, God, I really am some old codger in the carnivore movement. But I'm happy with that. It's cool. It's a bit funny, isn't it? But I just learning along with everybody else. I just happened to start chatting about it, and I'm having fun. Yeah. And listen, if anybody, definitely get across to Bart's page. I learned so much. Science, the level that Bart talks about science, it kind of bounces off me. I can't retain it, but I listen to it in great fascination, and particularly the irreverent way he puts it across. I think it's hilarious. But it will totally give you confidence of what you're doing. If you found out that something is already working for you, you trawl through Bart's vids and you'll find out why it's happened. And this is brilliant in explaining it to relatives who think that you're absolutely crazy and you're going to die, and vegans who are attacking you. I mean, Bart is just the best resource for that. So do that. And if you want to come along and check our new project out, go to thehumanunleashed.com, and we got free videos, free samples of stuff there, and some great interviews at the humanunleashed.com/conferences, and see these lovely interviews with the people we had last year. We had Jofia Clements, we had Dr. Paul Mabry, the Zero Carb Doc, and we all got on so well, and there's just lovely interviews with the participants there, many of whom are coming back this year. And come along and join us and check out the video. There's beautiful stuff. So I'm just so what I find is just so honoured to be part of this whole world of it, including Bart, including all these great people. Everybody seems to be so chilled. There's the occasional little upset, usually involving Frank Tufano. But everybody else seems to be incredibly chilled and just really supporting each other. And it's not a case of the vegan world where somebody's not vegan enough or not doing it right or drank too much piss. We're just supportive, and there's no horrific attacks when anyone leaves the cult. Just see how sane this is, if this is anyone's first video watching this, and go and see how all of this world seems to support each other and stuff. I love it. I'm really excited to be part of it. Met some great friends through it. So, yeah, thanks a lot, Bart. I mean, I listen to your science, and I end up on your channel. I think, what the fuck am I doing here? This dude's a god, really, with his knowledge. But that's the thing.
Oh, darling, you're going over the top now, son.
No, you are. I mean, it's all about different perspectives on it, isn't it? I mean, imagine if you were a standard doc or scientist, you'd just completely dismiss me. It's like when we reversed my mum's breast cancer. There's the usual arrogant oncologist, egotistical. Yes, we'll do this, we'll do that. Oh, look at all this rubbish you've listed. And then finally I came in, this horrendous tumour that had been coming through the skin. And you can see pictorial evidence of it. If you put my name in to YouTube and put breast cancer, you can see my mum's tumour disappearing. And then to go in there to those people with it totally reversing and see them disarmed and just go, what on earth did you do there? It's so rewarding. But what's nice about this world is, this whole carnivore world, is that even the docs, they have respect for the lay people, and the scientists understand that N=1 is probably just as important in many respects. That's what I love. There's a great mutual respect about this. So I love it. Cool.
Awesome. Well, son, you're an absolute legend. It's always a privilege and a pleasure to talk to you. most of my day is spent talking to fucking idiots, and I'm talking I'm talking about answering the constant stream of absolute rancid drivel from these fucking indoctrinated cunt waffles, basically.
I know. I know.
It's a pleasure to talk to someone who's got more than 3 fucking brain cells, and you've got many, many more than that, Phil. I wish you the best. We'll talk again, probably in another 6 months, and then and see what the state of the nation is, I guess.
Definitely, that'd be fun, mate. That'd be fun.
Yeah, but anyway, look, thanks for your time. As you say, we've been wide ranging. We've got through all the questions I had, and so much more. This is almost Joe Rogan style podcast, isn't it? With its relaxed attitude. And yeah, we just need 1 million fucking viewers, really, and that'd be awesome, because I really, I'll leave you with my one of my abiding thoughts of the UK, my time there when I was living there. I was up north in a place called Preston, Lancashire.
It's 20 miles from me.
And we were walking through town, in the middle of town, and it was myself and the now ex-wife, and we're walking through the main square, and you see this mother who is an axe handle and a half across the arse, at least, and, not tall to go with it, and just corpulent and round, and is out there in her fucking Ugg boot things, and the muffin top, and the pajama pants in the middle of town, whatever. And she's got a pram with a baby that looks like it's 15 fucking pounds by itself in there, and a kid trailing along, and another one there, and this woman's red in the face. She's pissed off with the world and whatever else, and obviously one of the kids you'd sort of said, can we go to such and such for food or whatever. And I just remember this woman shrieking across the square, "No!" shouted there, "We're having fucking bakery." Oh, fuck. Oh God.
Oh no,
and they went to fucking Greg's, and
oh, Greg's,
pastries
Jesus,
and pies, and oh fuck, and I'm like, this is where it's at, and this is, I know that's one end of a wedge, but
no, it's actually like, I mean, it's rare not to see somebody. You walk through the concourse here, the sort of concourse shopping centre, and you see 4 or 5 people in mobility scooters, and some of them have the whole roof on and the sides and whatever. And my son Tom, when he was young, he used to ask, "Are they for people with Tourette's?"
Yeah. Don't fucking look at me! Don't look at me!
So you can't hear them shouting "cunt" all the day long round Asda.
Yeah.
So, and it is appalling. I'd like to get somewhere out in the sun where people do at least look a little bit more healthy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well,
all right, man.
Oh, man, it's been great, and we'll leave it at that, and I'll catch up real soon. Ladies and gentlemen, himself, the Godfather, Mr. Phil Escott.
See you later, guys. See you, Bart.